Welcome to another edition of The Way I See It with your host, Ralph Williams. And now, without further ado, Ralph Williams.
And good evening and welcome to another edition of The Way I See It. I am Ralph Williams. It's great to be here with you tonight as we're here at our DJ Fun Studios here in Allentown section of the city of Pittsburgh. Tonight, I have a very special Way I See It show coming up shortly. We will be talking with Allegheny County Councilwoman at Large, Bethany Halllum. So that's coming up later on. Also, or coming up shortly, actually. Also, don't forget to call DJ Fun today, 412-545-4317. Call DJ Fun, parties, weddings, any kind of special event that requires a DJ. Give DJ Fun a call today. That number again, 412-545-4317. All right, let me talk to you today about our sponsor, Hillcrest Farm in Richmond, Ohio. Not Richmond, Virginia now. Richmond, Ohio. All right. Okay. Hillcrest Farm has package deals, variety box, $195, 4 pounds of burgers, 10 pounds of ground beef, 2 packs of filet mignon, 2 roasts, and 10 steaks for $195. You know, you can't beat that price because if you call some other folks, you're going to pay way more than that and get way less. Okay. Roast box, $200. 7 roast, 20 or 30 pounds of ground beef, all for $200. Ground beef box, my favorite, $95. You get 20 pounds of ground beef for $95. So head out to Hillcrest Farm today up in Richmond, Ohio, and they have nothing but grain, hay, beef, and I tell you what, you got to get out there. You got to get to Hillcrest Farm today. Call today, 740-346-5442 or 740-632-2894. Hillcrest Farms, Ohio at gmail.com, or check out their website, www.hillcrestfarmsohio.com, or at Hillcrest Farms on Facebook. All right. Now we're going to do our Chinese wisdom, and our Chinese wisdom says tonight that an understanding heart will all that the ground needs for your persistence. All right, and that was our Chinese wisdom tonight, and we're going to get into our blast segment here as we wait for Bethany Halllum, County Councilwoman at Large for Allegheny County. She's going to be coming on with us to talk about the election, her opponent, and the situation with Rich Fitzgerald, who has endorsed her opponent, Joanna Norvano. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that tonight as well. As soon as we get Bethany Halllum up here, I guess she must be running late. Let's see what's going on here with her. All right, so give me a minute here. Okay, hang on a minute. Hold on. Anyway, we're going to get into our blast segment here in a few minutes. All right. Okay. All right. Anyway, that was Bethany. She'll be up in a few moments here as soon as I take care of a couple things. All right. First, I want to start off with our first blast of the evening, the South Fayette administration. You know, South Fayette Township, you ought to be ashamed of yourself here in Allegheny County. Those of you who are not aware of what's been going on in South Fayette Township, they went on this meeting. They decided to do it at a resort instead of having the resort. What had happened was they went and they spent a ton of money, and they had all these bills for this one meeting. I mean, I'm talking about steaks that cost like $75. And of course, if I'm a taxpayer, of course you are as well in South Fayette Township, then you know what? You're just as angry as anyone else. And I would be angry too. All right. Bill Williams says city council is a kaleidoscope of incompetence. Yes, city council is. but the lady I'm having on tonight is county council. All right. She's county council at large. I know that about city council, Bill. It's amazing as to what goes on down there. All right, getting back to our blast segment. But I'm blasting South Fayette's administration tonight. How dare you do this to taxpayers? How dare you go and spend foolish money all across the board? That's a shame. And tonight, that is the way I see it. All right. Next, how dare someone put, and I say put, a, how dare someone put Century 3 Mall on fire? Okay. All right, we'll get back to our blast segment real soon. Right now, we have Bethany Hallam, Allegheny County Councilwoman, who represents our whole county. She is an at-large member, which means she represents the entire county. Bethany, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Ralph. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hang on, Bethany. I'm having problems hearing you for a minute here. Hold on a second, okay?
Sure.
Let me try something here. I don't know why, for some strange reason, I can't hear you here. I think I know why. Hold on. I had to put in some backup equipment because my equipment went down this morning.
Always when you need it the
Okay,
least.
Bethany, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, hang on. I still can't hear you, but that's okay. All right. Wait a minute. I know why. Okay, here we go. Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you perfect.
Okay, hang on. I have to do something again. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Sorry about this. Man, come on, really? The power of electronics. Okay. Bethany, thanks for being on the program. I appreciate it. First question I have for you tonight is I understand that Rich Fitzgerald is putting his endorsement into your opponent. What are your thoughts on that tonight?
He also endorsed my opponent in 2019 too, and I've spent the past 4 years doing exactly what I said I was going to do when I ran in 2019, and that is making sure that the county executive no longer has a county council that is just a rubber stamp for everything that he wants to do. I've spent the past 4 years holding him accountable, exposing backdoor deals that his administration's been a part of, and that's what I'll keep doing for the next 4 years, and he knows that, which is why he's supporting my opponent.
Bethany, let me ask you this question. I know she's been doing some mudslinging about you, and I understand you have some issues. And everybody makes mistakes in life. I've made several, and I know you've made some mistakes as well. It seems like your opponent's trying to hold that against you. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's a shame, So I talk very openly about my recovery. I actively used opioids, pain pills, heroin for 10 years, in and out of jails, in and out of rehabs. How I lived in the backseat of my car for a period of time when I didn't even have a driver's license. So I've seen a lot. And I've grown a lot since then. And I think it's important that I talk about my past. But the fact that my opponent wants to use my past as some sort of attack, it's just such a shame. I don't believe in negative campaigning. I think that if you have enough of a plan for what you want to do in the office, there shouldn't be any time to talk negative about your opponent. I don't even say my opponent's name, yet it seems that my name is the only thing she does talk about. And I'm okay with that because at the end of the day, people know what I stand for and she can say what she wants, but I've shown what I'm about. And I think that that's what people look for.
Let me ask you this. I know there's been some issues down at the jail. I understand roaches in food, all kinds of different things going on down there, a mice infestation. I understand people make mistakes. They're in jail. Some people are in jail that shouldn't be in jail because they didn't do anything really wrong. They just ended up getting arrested. Okay. And then there are those who deserve to be in jail, but they deserve to be treated properly. And I understand your stance on this. What are your thoughts right now about this warden down at the jail and what's going on down there?
Oh, it is such a mess. A lot of people don't know what's happening in the jail, and it's in our own backyard, right? So, our jail has a death rate that is twice the national average, one of the highest per capita death rates out of any county jail in the nation. That should be front page news every single day. Our neighbors are dying. And as you said, A lot of people who are incarcerated are not in there because they are some sort of danger to society, especially when we're talking about a county jail. 95% of the people in the Allegheny County Jail are not serving a sentence. In this country, one of our most foundational principles are that you're innocent until proven guilty, which means that legally, the majority of people in that jail are innocent, have not yet been proven guilty. Those are the people who are dying. Those are the people who are experiencing rats and cockroaches and feces in their food. Those are the people who
Wow,
are not getting adequate medical
that's
treatment.
crazy.
It is. Yeah. And so I think every time we talk about we need to remind people that even people who have been convicted of crimes deserve a right to do their time with dignity. And even people who haven't been convicted of crimes, they are factually innocent. And therefore, why are they being subjected to these conditions?
Yeah, that's unacceptable. I mean, it really is unacceptable. I mean, I understand people commit crimes, they do bad things, you know what I'm saying? But that's still no excuse to treat somebody like that. And then also, what's the plan right now? I understand you're on the jail board. What's the plan now with this medical services down there?
Yeah, so that's what's really frustrating is the county actually contracts out medical services in the jail. So currently the contract is held by Allegheny Health Network, who operates, a bunch of hospitals in our region. The reality is they put PR spins on the things that they're doing as opposed to actually focusing on what people need. They're not getting medication on time. A lot of people are in there for weeks before they get any medication at all that they were prescribed at home that they would be taken if they were home. Remember, when you or I are really sick, we can go to the emergency room. We can go to MedExpress. We can call up our doctor. We can even Google WebMD to see what's wrong with us. When you're in
Right.
jail, you can't do any of that. We actually have a constitutional obligation to provide health care for people in jail. That includes mental health care. Until a few weeks ago, you couldn't even get private access to a psychiatrist or psychologist. All interviews by mental health staff were done in the public in front of everyone else who was on your pod in the jail. So I really do believe that a lot of the deaths in the jail are as a result of a lack of adequate medical treatment because we're seeing people, young people who are old, people who have prior medical conditions, people who don't have prior medical conditions dying in the jail. And oftentimes the resulting official cause of death is some sort of health problem that if they were on the street, if they were at home, if they were in some kind of treatment facility, maybe they could have gotten help with. For example, there was a 26-year-old Gerald Thomas who died in the jail a few months ago. 26 years old, again, had not been convicted of a crime, was not serving a sentence for a crime, and he died. For the 3 days prior to his death, he had been complaining repeatedly to jail staff about a horrible pain in his legs, and they just ignored him. They laughed at him, they mocked him, they thought he was making it up to get attention. 3 days later, he dropped dead on the floor of the jail, and it was a blood clot that has traveled from his legs to his lungs and killed him. And if he would have been home, maybe his mother could have taken him to the hospital. Maybe he could have called his doctor. Maybe he could have walked into a Med Express and told them what was going on. But because he was in the jail, he wasn't able to do any of those things. And now he is dead. So, yes, it may look like a regular medical condition, but the reality is there was so much treatment that was missing because he was incarcerated. And that's what we need to address.
We have some comments here. Eric says, "Well said on everything, Bethany." And then we have the Drift. He hasn't been around for a little bit, but he says hello to you and I. And then Twitch VIP asks how everyone's doing. And then Bill Williams here. He got this a little mixed up here. He thought you were with City Council, and he called confident. And I said, no, she's with County Council before you came on. So anyway, the next thing I want to ask you is this. What's the plan now for Schumann Center? I questioned Rich Fitzgerald on KDK radio. I got on there and I questioned him, and he went on and said, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to talk to the state, we got to do this, we got to make this phone call. Why is it so difficult to do this? I mean, what is the problem here? We need this place. We need Schumann Center.
Yeah.
We need to get these kids off the streets and into that commit these crimes. Home detention's not working. We need to do something here with these kids and get them into Schumann Center. What are your thoughts on Schumann Center?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I actually think it's two questions. What's the problem? And then what's the plan, right? Because those are two really important things. So, first of all, I am glad you pushed back on KDKA about what Rich Fitzgerald was saying, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of blame being passed around. But Rich Fitzgerald could have kept Schumann open. For years, Schumann had many problems. There were kids getting drugs, kids overdosing, there were fights. It was just not a very well run facility. And remember, who was running the facility? Allegheny County was running Schumann Center. And so for years, all of these problems, they were being denied relicensing from the state. So they
Right.
applied for what was called a provisional license. And Allegheny County applied for provisional licenses to keep Schumann open for years. And then they decided not to apply for a provisional license for last year. And so, yes, the state did shut Schumann down. But the county, by saying that the state shut us down, is trying to ignore all responsibility whatsoever for why Schumann got shut down in the first place. It was not being properly run. It did not have proper oversight. The county did not want to invest in having that sort of resource for children in Allegheny County. So that's the problem, right? The solution, I think there are many solutions. I agree 100%. We need to have Schumann or a Schumann like center. We hear it from the judges, we hear it from the lawyers, we hear it from the community members. We agree to that. We as county council have had many conversations about Schumann Center. And the thing that we very much agree on is that whatever new facility opens, it needs to be county run. It needs to be county owned. It needs to be county run. It cannot be privatized. The county put out an RFP, a request for proposal, who wants to buy Schumann Center. And in the request for proposal, they said, we will give priority to anyone who agrees to buy it and operate it as a regional juvenile detention facility. So basically, Schumann, not just for Allegheny County kids, but Schumann for all the surrounding counties as well, who are experiencing a similar problem of not having a juvenile facility, right?
Right.
So about 80 different companies responded to the RFP saying, we want to buy this building. Only one responded saying, we want to buy it and make it a juvenile detention facility. And if I remember correctly, I actually think their bid was $1 to buy the property to run a juvenile detention facility. Now, the problem is that one company was a company who was involved in the Cash for Kids scandal out in Eastern PA, where folks were taking bribes because a private organization was running their juvenile detention facility. So judges were getting kickbacks for sending kids there. It was a whole corrupt system called that
Right.
is now known as Cash for Kids. And there's a really good book out there if anyone wants to read. I actually think the book's called Kids for Cash. But so we know that we don't want a private juvenile facility here. We truly shouldn't have any private detention facilities for children or adults. So what is happening right now is we voted on county council to develop a plan of different stakeholders from different communities, whether it's law enforcement community, whether it's juveniles who have been impacted by the juvenile justice system, whether it's community advocates or stakeholders just all around the community involved in this conversation, to come together and make a working group, right? And I know in government, if you're like me, you get really frustrated when you hear, oh, another working group. Well, what are you going to get done about it? And the reality is that only the county executive could say, we're opening Schumann tomorrow. The county executive today could say, we're opening Schumann tomorrow. Here's our plan. Here's the funding that is allocated towards it. We are going to use it ourselves. But he hasn't done that. And so all we were in our authority to do is to say, we're going to start a conversation about it and hope that the county executive does the right thing and reopens Schumann and operates it properly this time. There were not many kids in Schumann at the time it closed. And the average stay for kids who were detained in Schumann were only there for a really short period of time, sometimes only a few days while transitioning from one place to the next. What we really need to talk about is, yes, have a facility that we can make sure the kids are safe and off the streets and not getting themselves into more trouble because they're in the streets. But we also need to have the larger conversation about public safety, which is public safety isn't just about jails and police and prisons and the courts. Maybe these kids don't have stable housing. We need to make sure that people have housing. Maybe they don't have access to health care and mental health care. Maybe they have some untreated things that they need professionals to be treated for and they don't have access to because our system doesn't provide it. Maybe their parents aren't home to take care of them and mentor them and teach them the right things because they're making $7.25 an hour at their job and working 3 jobs just to support their families. The schools, we know that we have a public school system in Pennsylvania that is not funded equitably. We fund our public schools based off property taxes. So if you live in a rich community, you have a better
Right.
school. And if you live in a poor community, you have a worse school. So we need to address that because we know that having fully funded schools where kids have not just good education, but also good technology, access to after school programs, and other things that keep them engaged after school hours, those are the things that we're not investing in. Instead, we're having this conversation about tens of millions of dollars to lock kids up instead of saying, well, how much of that could we use to make a facility that works for them and provides them these things that we know actually keeps them safe, actually keeps them out of crime.
Bethany, tell all the voters out here what your plans are if you get reelected for your second term.
Oh, absolutely. I have already been planning on what I want to do for the next 4 years, hoping that the voters have seen, my proven track record of what we've gotten done. So there's a lot of things we're working on as we speak that I think will carry over into my next term. For example, right now we are doing a $20 an hour minimum wage for county employees. Currently, state law doesn't allow us to legislate a minimum wage for all workers in the county. Only the state can do that. But what we can say is that $20 an hour is a living wage in Allegheny County. No one who works for the county in any capacity will make less than that, and hope we set a precedent for the state to raise the wage for all workers. Another thing is really making sure that people can stay in their homes. So that includes investing in access to housing for people who do not have housing currently, maybe are being evicted, maybe are experiencing homelessness, but also developing programs so that people can afford to stay in the homes that they already have. With the looming reassessment happening, we really need to make sure that people are planning for how they're going to afford to stay in their homes and making sure that we're able to support them throughout doing that. Additionally, we really need to talk about how we are controlling the rental market, right? With excessive application fees for people who are trying to apply for homes. Again, as I mentioned earlier, with a property assessment system that is just shocking so many people when they go to buy a new home and they're paying taxes on a much higher value than their property is assessed. That's being litigated in court right now. We need to develop a system to make that equitable as well. And of course, working on clean air and clean water. So in this past budget, we allocated funding for lead remediation so people can make sure there's not lead in the water coming into their homes. And also, we ban fracking in our county parks. We think we have a legal argument to actually take that a step further and protect all of Allegheny County from fracking. So that's just a few of the things, really working to champion workers' rights, making sure everyone has access to housing and the supports that they need to really thrive, and making sure, again, that Allegheny County is a safe place for people to come, that they can breathe the air, they can breathe the water, and they know that no matter which of our 130 municipalities they live in, they will always have the county as that umbrella providing supports with our $3 billion budget that we have every year, putting people first, education, housing, and treatment that they need.
Bethany, I want to thank you for being part of the program tonight, and good luck to you in the election here. And we'll try to have you come on again to talk some more about some Allegheny County and everything else. Thank you so much for being part of the show tonight. I'm sorry I had a little issues with my equipment. You know how technology is.
I do, but
So
thank you for having me,
you're
Ralph.
welcome very much. Anytime.
I'll come
Anytime.
talk about Allegheny County anytime you invite me. It's my
Thank
favorite
you.
thing in the world. Thanks, Ralph.
Have a great one. Thank you, Bethany. That was Bethany HALLUM, who is the Allegheny County Councilwoman at large for Allegheny County. And good luck to her on the election. And it was great having her on the show. I want to talk tonight before we start the show here a little bit more. This afternoon, I had the privilege of sitting down with the general manager of Beaver County Radio. And the reason I did was because I wanted to put this program or Sports Corner podcast on the radio. Sitting down with him today, he said to me, Ralph, he says, I love your sports or your The Way I See It program. But I like your sports corner better, and we don't have a sports talk show here. I said, terrific. He said to me, why don't you put this show on now? And then later on down the road, we'll put The Way I See It on. I said, that's great. So starting June 20th, 2023, 5 p.m., Beaver County Radio, okay? We will be airing Sports Corner with myself and Smoking Jim Frazier, and it will be every Tuesday starting June 20th, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Beaver County Radio. You can go if you can't get the signal, you can listen on their website. We will be live on their Facebook page as well. So call your friend, call your cousin, call somebody. I wanted to let everyone know tonight that starting June 20th, which is a Tuesday night, 5 to 6 p.m., myself, Smoking Jim Frazier, and Sports Corner will be on Beaver County Radio, St. Barnabas Broadcasting. And I want to thank those guys for letting me put my show on there. And down the road, there's going to be more. So I just want to let everyone know Ralph Williams is back on the radio, and the Forgotten Son is no more. Thank you, St. Barnabas Radio. God bless you guys. Thank you, the GM of Beaver County Radio. Thank you. All right. Once again, let's get back to our blast segment. We're going to get started back again. South Fayette Administration. The Drift said, thank you, Drift, for that. Thank you very much for the congratulations. All right. South Fayette Township Administration. You know what? This is disgusting. They came out and they decided to go on this to this resort and have this big meeting and spend $75 for steaks. Okay, wine, all kinds of stuff, spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on this event. Okay, and what makes no sense to me at all is the fact that this one-day event cost the taxpayers all this kind of money. And I don't blame the and then they have the audacity to get mad because the taxpayers are complaining about this. Oh, it was just a few $1,000s. Oh, we didn't need to spend it. Yes, you did. You spent tax dollars that you shouldn't have spent. Instead of having a meeting at a basic conference center or whatever, you decide to go to the resort in Bedford County and you decide to have this meeting. And then on top of having this meeting, you decide to spend all this money, and it's tax dollars that you do not have the authorization to spend. And that tonight is the way I see it on that. Next, okay? How dare someone put a fire at Century 3 Mall? But you know what? I'm blasting the owners. I'm blasting West Mifflin because everybody's to blame for this fire at Century 3 Mall. Number one, the ownership group is a bunch of knuckleheads, okay? It's a Las Vegas group that for some strange reason was trying to sell real estate, and they thought they could flip Century 3 Mall real quick. So what they did was they bought the mall, and then they never intended on keeping it open. So everything went bye-byes. Okay, all the stores are gone. The biggest mall at one time in the world or in the United States is now nothing. Okay, my suggestions went deaf ears. All right, my suggestions big time went that way. How? Because I told them they should make it into an entertainment center or some kind of an indoor water park like they have up in Erie, or some kind of a event center where you could go to with go-karts and golf, like they had down in Edgewood Town Center that went out of business, okay, because of COVID. All right, something other than Dave and Buster's or something other than some other things. You could have an indoor miniature golf course. You could have an amphitheater inside and have concerts and shows and wrestling events, all this type of stuff. But nobody cared. And now there's a fire at Century 3 Mall. And you know what? I blame the West Mifflin Borough administration for this because they should have done something about these people a long time ago. You could have took them to court. You could have sued them. You could have done something to them. But you did nothing. And what happened? There was a fire at the mall. And now you're upset because there was a fire there. Well, that mall's been a monstrosity forever. All right? That tonight is the way I see it on the fire at Century 3 Mall. All right. Now, next, the West Mifflin government. Yeah, well, I already talked about that for not getting involved in the Century 3 Mall incident there. All right. The people who had their reptiles in their house in Ambridge. You know what? What is wrong with you? You had reptiles, you couldn't take care of them. What do? You just leave them in a house and let them do whatever they want. You don't feed them, you don't take care of them. If you couldn't take care of these reptiles, or you were trying to sell them, or you were trying to do something to them, and you couldn't get them done, why in the world would you even do this? Okay? That is wrong. It's terrible. Why would you do this to these reptiles? All right? That tonight is the way I see it about those people. All right. Next, the Wilkinsburg Penn Water Authority. You know what? Shame on you because because of a water main break, which is your problem. It went to a house. Some people got their lost all their belongings. They have no place to live. All their belongings got ruined. Everything happened here. Walking in water up to your knees. Okay, and guess what? You don't care because you're doing what? Nothing. All right, that's exactly what it is. You're doing nothing. All right, and then guess what? Now too, the landlord doesn't care. He's doing nothing. The borough's doing nothing. Guess what? Shame on all of you in Wilkinsburg. The Wilkinsburg Joint Water Authority, the government, and the landlord. Guess what? The Red Cross stepped up. That's the way I see it tonight. All right. Last but not least, the Greensburg plumber. This guy he's a plumber, decided, you know what? I think I'm going to do like everybody else does, and that's scam people. Plumbers, contractors. You got all these people out here scamming everybody, stealing. It's just disgusting about how everyone is scamming. I can't understand why this is going on. I know, oh, we have an issue with inflation. We have a problem with the economy. We have to go down to casino and we got to excessively gamble. So, and then that way we don't have any money. So to make up for our losses, we decide to go out and scam people. Well, guess what, buddy? You're done. And that is the way I see it tonight. Shame on you. All right, our boneheaded segment tonight. All right. All right. The employee at the minor, this kid was a teenager or a minor, okay? And he was working at a Giant supermarket. Now, Giant is in the eastern sector of the state. Giant supermarket, and he was working there. He decides to put sewing needles in the food, inside packages. And that is a shame. All right. Thank you for the comment, Bill. They should move all the reptiles to an empty mall. Kill two birds with one stone. That's oh my. That I like that one. That's a good one. That's I like that. All right. Next, the people arrested for all right for the scheme for the robbery scheme at the truck stop. What a boneheaded move that was, man. I got to tell you. That was one boneheaded move trying to rob these people at the truck stop. Thought you were going to get away with it. Well, guess what? You didn't. All right. All right. Next, another guy trying to get through Pittsburgh International Airport with a gun. When is this going to stop? Another boneheaded move. All right. The guy at guess what? The guy on a Southwest airplane. It's every week Southwest has a problem with somebody. Well, guess what? This guy, he was tapping on a lady's shoulder, wouldn't leave her alone. Her kid was crying. I guess he was irritated or agitated, probably drunk. Somebody in the airlines need to do something about some of this stuff with these drunks. That's tonight's boneheaded segment. All right. A life story, not a lot going on this week, but I did go get my cortisone shots that I get in my knee. I get them every 3 months from my orthopedic surgeon. And I get these shots continuously on a 3-month rotation. I also get them in my shoulders. I have issues in both shoulders and knee and my knees and whatnot as well. Also, I took my mom to her appointments. last week. She had some this past week. She had some appointments. I went and I did that. And I also met today with the GM of Beaver County Radio. If you didn't listen, if you weren't on here earlier, I had Bethany HALLUM on, Allegheny County Councilwoman at Large, and I also had I had brought up the fact that I met with them today, and I was going to put the way I see it here on their station. And they asked me today when I met with the GM. His name's Frank, and Frank and I we sat down had a discussion. My wife was with me because uh, she comes with me a lot to help me out because, as you know, I'm in a wheelchair. I'm disabled in a wheelchair, and so we're sitting down and we're talking at lunch, and he said, "Listen," he says, uh, "I like your shows. I admire your passion. You have a great voice. You have great shows." He says, "We don't have a sports show here, a real good one." He says, "I'm interested in wanting to know if you'd be interested, instead of starting off with the way I see it, how about putting Sports Corner on instead of the way I see it?" And I says, "That's not a bad idea because technically my wife really suggested that as well. She thought it would be better if I did that." Well, now that's going to happen starting Tuesday, June 20th, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Sports Corner on Beaver County Radio. The forgotten son is no more. Radio has finally there for me. And I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm like pinching myself. That's how excited I am. Because this is what I've always wanted, was to be on the radio here in Pittsburgh, in the Pittsburgh area. And guess what? It's going to happen. And it's going to happen on weekday prime time. That's the interesting part about this. And that's what I'm so happy about here today. All right. I'm very, very pleased about this. And, it's a great thing. I know I'm going to do well because I have God behind me. I do. So I know, and I want to thank everyone for the prayers as well. Not just for my nephew who passed away a few weeks back, as we all know. All my shows from here on in are all dedicated to my nephew, Sean Nedley Jr. Okay, whether it's radio or here on the podcast or the TV shows. All right. There's many entities now for you to check out, both Sports Corner and the way I see it. I'm on PCTV Channel 21, Comcast 47, Verizon Cable. And even if you don't live in Allegheny County, you can still catch me on Facebook, PCTV's Facebook page, Pittsburgh Community Television. Pop up their Facebook page, scroll down. You'll see both my The Way I See It shows and also Sports Corner. And on the Sports Corner TV show, Smoking Jim and I talk wrestling, which we have here on Wednesday nights at 7:30. And also we have not only just Wednesday nights at 7:30 here talking wrestling, but Thursday nights on Blog Talk Radio, 347-205-9631 is the number to call to listen in for wrestling and sports talk, along with Mark Mancini, myself, and Smoking Jim Frazier. Tell your friend, call your cousin. So, it's 95.7, 92.3 FM there, Bill, and 1460 AM and 1230 AM. That's the station dials. Thanks, Bill, and thank you for the condolences there from the drift. I want to talk to you today about Hillcrest Farm up in Richmond, Ohio. If you don't know where Richmond, Ohio is, it's 45 minutes from Pittsburgh. It's up the hill from Steubenville. And I would like to let you know that you need to go, if you are interested in good freezer beef. I'm not talking about roast. I'm talking about brisket. I'm talking about steaks. I'm talking about ground beef that is fresh. And I'm talking about grain, hay, fresh beef. Okay? Right off the farm, right there, straight up. Okay? So, Hillcrest Farm in Richmond, Ohio has these package deals that I think you're going to like. Variety box number one, $195. You get 4 pounds of burgers, 10 pounds of ground beef, 2 packs of filet mignon, 2 roasts, and 10 steaks. $195. That is not a bad deal at all. And then how about the roast box? $200. Hey, if you like roast, you get seven roasts. Plus, on top of that, you get 30 pounds of ground beef for $200. And ground beef box, my favorite, $95, 20 pounds of ground beef. Heck, you can make burgers, meatballs. You can make sloppy Joe. You can make all kinds of stuff. Meat sauce for your spaghetti, and it's fresh. Not that stuff you buy in the grocery store where it has additives in it and everything else. Farm fresh ground beef. Call them today, 740-346-5442, 740-632-2894. You can email them at hillcrestfarmsohio@gmail.com. Check out their website, www.hillcrestfarmsohio.com, and also they have their own Facebook page. Check that out as well. We have a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to go a little over tonight. Why? Because number one, this is my show. I don't have anyone to tell me when I can and cannot and don't have to get off the air. And I have a lot of topics to talk about tonight. We have Bethany HALLUM on. I want to thank her for coming on the show tonight. Allegheny County Councilwoman at Large. Okay. Let me ask you this, and I was going to wait till later. Do you really base your vote on the Allegheny County Democratic Committee? Okay, let's say I'm running for whatever, okay, in Allegheny County. I might down the road want to run for county council. So if I do that, okay, let me ask you this question. If I do that, okay, and the Allegheny County Democratic Committee decides to vote for somebody else, but you like me, but every time somebody's with the Allegheny County Democratic Committee that they endorse, you vote for. So you're not going to vote for me because I'm not endorsed. Do you vote for the endorsed candidate? And if you do, then you're foolish. Okay? Vote for the best candidate, not just the guy or the gal or whomever is running, okay, for these offices, and then you go ahead and you say, well, the Allegheny County Democratic Committee has endorsed this candidate. Okay, well, let me ask you this question then. If the Allegheny County Democratic Committee tells you to walk outside naked and run down the street to the police station and bang on their door, would you do it? Probably, because let me tell you what you did do. You did everything Tom Wolf told you to do. Instead of working with people, working with businesses, restaurants, healthcare centers, all these people that were against Tom Wolf about what he did when COVID was around, okay? All right? Nobody did anything to fight. And I've said this many times on all my programs, on all these episodes of The Way I See It, and that's the fact that this society and this country today are weak because we did nothing to fight this situation. Instead, we went and gave in. Yeah, at the time when COVID hit, Donald Trump was our president, and he come out and said, I'm opening up the country. But the mistake he made was, I'm going to let the governors do what they want. Now, if he wouldn't have made that mistake, I personally believe he could have won this last presidential election. Because believe it or not, as much as I really don't like Donald Trump, I would have voted for him. Because he would have put a federal law that states you cannot close down your state. Okay? He let the governors do it. You had Roy Cooper down in North Carolina. You had Tom Wolf here. Were the two worst governors to close everything down. And it cost businesses to close. It cost hospitals to be shorthanded. It cost all kinds of issues. Okay? And I understand it was a health thing. I realize that. All right? I'm for the health just like anyone else. And I cannot stand when people affect people's health with dumb decisions. Okay? That is one thing I do not like and I cannot tolerate. Okay? So here we are with this, and nobody did anything about it. Instead, Tom Wolf says, jump off a bridge. What are you doing? You're jumping off a bridge because Tom Wolf told you to do that. And I brought that example up because let's say if Tom Wolf tells you jump off a bridge, are you going to jump off a bridge? No, I wouldn't. But you would. Those of you who listen to him, those of you who didn't support the restaurants and the businesses, those of you out there who hid in your home and you're still hiding in your home. The point I'm making is when you go out to vote and it says endorsed by the Allegheny County Democratic Committee, does that mean you vote for him? No. How do you know that's the right candidate? Because you don't. That's the way I see it tonight. The Century 3 Mall fire. Now, if you heard earlier on my blast segment, I did bring up about how I believe, and I personally believe, that there's a lot of blame to go around here. Okay? I understand somebody set fire to it. That was wrong. Great. I'm glad they got arrested. I'm glad they found out who these people are. Great. What I'm unhappy with is the fact that West Mifflin has let that thing sit there and sit there and sit there. Why haven't they taken the West Mifflin Borough's police department, or not police, lawyers, attorneys, whatever they have, legal action against this owner to do something about this problem? Where was county council in all this? Where was our county executive in all this? This mall has sat here for years, and it's been nothing but decrepit. It's sitting there. It's a big eyesore. The parking lots look disgusting. The roads are horrible. It's boarded up, and it's an eyesore. Okay, you say you want a new juvenile facility. Then make it into a juvenile facility. Do something with the property because you're losing because they're in bankruptcy or whatever these people are. Call them to the carpet. But nobody did anything. Because guess what? Nobody cares. Because if you did, there wouldn't have been a fire at Century 3 Mall. And that tonight is the way I see it. All right. Next. Fayette Township. Or I'm sorry, South Fayette Township. I blasted them earlier tonight. Okay. And anyway, I have blasted them tonight because they went on this exotic meeting they had at the in Bedford County at this resort. South Fayette's officials decided, the commissioners, the mayor, or whomever, whoever's in charge of their government, has decided to go out there and have this big shindig of a meeting and charge all kinds of people money and all that other stuff. They billed it to the taxpayer. $75 for a steak. You know how many steaks I can make for $75? A lot. $75 for a steak. And this is just for a lunch. Thousands and thousands of dollars for this meeting. What, you couldn't have it somewhere at least a little bit reasonable, like at Harry's Pizza or something? You couldn't reserve a room down the block? You couldn't even use your own borough building, have a nice little meeting there? No, you had to go to this quiet resort and have lunch and very expensive and rack everything up. Oh, it don't come out of my pocket. It comes from the taxpayers. And then you're bitching because the taxpayers took it to the news, and the news is all over you, and they're hauling you to the carpet, and now you're angry. Oh, well, you shouldn't have did what you did. Okay? You shouldn't have did this. And then maybe you wouldn't be embarrassed and have egg on your face. That, tonight, is the way I see it. All right, next. The county about Schumann Center. Now, we had this discussion with Bethany Hallam. She gave us her thing about Schumann Center. Okay? I questioned Rich Fitzgerald on the Paul Zeiss show last week on KDKA radio. I got on. Of course, Paul knows who I am. I've called his show many times as the years have gone along. Okay. So anyhow, I call his show. Rich Fitzgerald's on there, and I asked him. I said, "Rich, what are you doing about Schumann Center? Why is it taking so long?" Ralph, we have to call the state. We have to get all this documentation. Even the food's got to be right. We got to do this. Well, first of all, Rich, you have people down at jail eating food with roaches and feces in it. So first of all, why in the world would you even say anything about food when that's the biggest problem right there? Okay. So I asked him all the questions, and again, he went on and on and on about this, that, and whatever. Oh, it's not by sometime by the end of the year, we're going to tour the facility. I had to hire this committee to take a look at this. What? You mean to tell me you can't do this now? Oh, we're going to wait till the end of the year. Do you realize you have a violence crisis in this county? Do you realize that? Do you realize because of your stupid mistakes that shutting this place down has caused violence everywhere in this county? Okay, Rich, you dropped the ball on this. County council and the county executive dropped the ball on this. And now we're paying the price because we have to put up with it. And the judges are putting these kids on home detention. They can play on their cell phone or computer because their parents don't care, obviously, because they're committing crimes. Okay? So here we are with this, and here we are, and this is what's happening. I feel bad for you, and myself included. We live in Allegheny County, and we have to put up with this youth violence. So 4 people try to climb the fence at Kennywood. First day open. Kennywood was on top of it. I'm actually quite surprised they were really on top of it. I gotta give it to them. Okay. Steven Zappella, I gotta give it to you too. For hauling Kennywood to the carpet when no one else would. Okay. And I'm glad Kennywood caught those boys. But let me tell you something. I've said this many times. There's a gang in the Mon Valley. You need to clean that gang up. And I will guarantee you, if you put them kids in jail, that whole gang, arrest them. Get the FBI Gangs Task Force in here and arrest them. Because if they arrest you, that's federal charges. Do like you did with the Law Gang. Get a backbone. That's the way I see it tonight. All right. Combining police forces in Tarentum and Brackenridge. You know, a lot of this has been going on over the years. Northern Regional has merged. Ohio Township, they merged a bunch of police departments, made it Ohio Township. It was Killbuck, I think. Neville Island Police and a few others merged. And they made it, Ohio Township. Emsworth, I believe. So those, and it's going to continue to happen. Now, I do know that at one time, many years ago, Dan Honorato, our previous county executive, decided that he wanted to try to merge some of the Mon Valley Police Department. That's been talked about, but you know what I always say, talk is cheap. It's been talked about. And therefore now, there's still more violence in the Mon Valley, and they're talking about merging these police departments. And that's a good idea. It's efficient. Everybody gets trained better. Everybody works together with each other in these communities. And that's a great thing because all the communities will get service. Okay. State police are in East Pittsburgh right now. All right. That would save East Pittsburgh money, and they would still be able to get better service because the state police, they have other things to worry about than a tiny little town like East Pittsburgh. It's the way I see it tonight. The Wilkinsburg Main Water Authority. Shame. You know what? Shame on you. And I blasted you earlier tonight. I'm going to do it again because I'm not happy with you because of what you did with that building that you caused the problem with. It was your line that broke that flooded that apartment building where those folks live in Wilkinsburg. Okay. Oh, I know. Pass the buck. Let the landlord handle it. Okay. Let the borough handle it. The borough, their administration can't find their own way. Okay. They can't find their way out of a paper bag. And that's a simple fact right there. Okay. So, okay. It's time for you to step up and do something and reimburse these people. Red Cross has stepped up. And I have said this so many times. Go get renter's insurance. Because stuff like this, you're covered. It's not that expensive, folks. It's $15, $20, maybe not even that a month. You understand what I'm saying? It's worth having for that little investment. Start worrying about yourself instead of worrying about the next bottle of booze or the next joint you're going to smoke or the next whatever drugs you're smoking or whatever you're doing. Okay? And pay for some renter's insurance so stuff like this happens, you're covered. Okay? Because Wilkinsburg Joint Water Authority, they don't seem to care. And neither does the landlord of the building. And I've said this many times about landlords. Oh, well, my landlord, Ralph, he wouldn't do anything like that. Oh, yes, he would. Landlords don't want to pay for nothing. That's why you need renter's insurance. I don't care if you sleep in the smallest room in the world. Get it. If you pay a rent or a lease to anybody, get it. If you live in one of those hotels where it's like extended stay and you pay $30, Johnny's Motel or something like that. Yeah, one of those places, you still get it. It's worth the $10 or $20 a month. Cut back on your beer expenses or your liquor expenses. Cut back on ordering out pizza every now and again. Okay? It's worth the money and it's worth the time to put into getting it. All right? Because it'll cover you. Or you're going to have the same problem if there was a fire in your building or if there was water damage again or anything like that. Why is it so difficult to understand this? Because you don't want to. Because you don't care. That's the way I see it tonight. All right. We spoke earlier about the election. All right. But I want to tell you this, and it was thanks to my blast. The ushers down at PNC Park got their raise. I blasted Bob Nutting on this program because Bob Nutting is scum. He really is. He doesn't pay his baseball players. He has never put a team together. And the sad part about all this, you support him. You support the Pirates. Oh, but I like baseball. Oh, the Pirates are doing good this year. But what about the years before that? How about the last 6, 7 years or so? Yeah. What everyone, oh, yeah, that's right. Everybody forgets about that stuff because everyone's brain is freeze-dried from smoking too much pot, playing too much Xbox, and drinking too much. That we don't realize and understand that Bob Nutting is sticking it to everybody. Okay? He wasn't sticking it to the ushers because I blasted him for it. And guess what? On this program. And by doing this, it got back to him. And he's paying his ushers $13 an hour now. They've agreed to a new contract. Their rate goes, they were at $10 an hour for the last 10 years. Really? All right. That's the way I see it tonight. And I also am taking credit for this too. Because of my rant and my blast of the Duquesne University administration about the strike with the police officers, they agreed to a new contract. You didn't think Duquesne was going to sit there and watch. They had complaints from their kids, the alum. This is embarrassment. How in the world, and I mentioned this, does a university that's supposed to be Christian oriented, how does that happen? But it did. It didn't last long because I blasted them. And now they sat down and they talked. No, we're not talking about DeMarcus Russell tonight, Noel. Thank you. You have a nice night. All right. Real quick, some quick topics. Alec Baldwin, as you know, charged with the shooting situation on a set in that Montana thing. That's the way I see it tonight. Prayers for Stan Savran. And a lot of people don't know who Stan Savran is if you're not into sports. But Stan Savran's a legend in this town. He's a sportscaster. He's on 97 or 970 AM ESPN radio every afternoon. He has a little show, Savran on Sports. He's been doing it for many years. He did pirate broadcast, the pre and post game for Fox Sports when it was all kinds of different entities. So he's done all that over the years. Okay, he's been around a long, long time. He's the godfather of sports in this town. Well-respected man. Well, he has a cancer situation going on. All right, and now he had to get one of his legs or foot amputated because of the cancer. I want to say to everyone tonight, say your prayers for Stan Savran because he's a great man. Excellent, great man, godfather of sports, one of the greatest people. All right. That's the way I see it tonight about Stan Savran. All right, here we are. Lawsuits happening. Yeah. Lawsuits happening on a cruise. You know, these cruise ship companies, I'll never in my life ever go on a cruise. You could pay for it and pay for everything for me, and I still wouldn't go. Why? Because have you seen what goes on cruise ships lately? That's like flying. Okay? So now somebody's filing a lawsuit because this person was on there. It was a dead body and it decomposed in the room and you mean to tell me nobody smelled that? No one smelled it. Ew. Okay? And here we are, everybody. Here we are. A decomposed body sat there for a week or two, right on that ship. Well, the cruise ship company's getting sued for it. Wow. That tonight is the way I see it. I want to thank once again Bethany HALLUM for being on the program. County Councilwoman at large here in Allegheny County. I want to thank you for watching, and next week we'll be back here at 7 p.m. right here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. I'm Ralph Williams. Good night. Be safe.